Blag, happy Thursday.
Thank you. You too.
So today we're here to talk about some cool stuff you've been doing, not using our SDKs, but using some other languages to hit Nylas APIs in order to send and read emails. So before we jump in, I'll just say hello. I'm Ash, Director of Developer Relations here at Nylas.
And I'm Black, Senior Developer Advocate here at Nylas.
Cool. So this is just another one of our live streams we've been doing a couple of times a week to show people some cool things that you can do with Nylas in conjunction with some other technologies. So up until now, we've covered things like our CLI and how you can get autocompletes with the CLI. We've talked about webhooks. We've talked about different SDKs we have, like Nylas offers SDKs for Ruby, Node.js, Java, and Python, and that's all well and good. But at the same time, we want to make sure that people know that you don't have to use one of our SDKs in order to benefit from building on our platform.
Exactly.
So that's one of the things you've been working on this week. We'll be talking about this both today and I believe tomorrow, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about PHP, which is a language that I haven't used for the last, I think, 12, 13 years. So I might be a little rusty, but I managed to put something together.
Cool. Yeah. And same for me, by the way. I probably haven't really touched PHP much in the last 7 or 8 years. And I think that's okay. What we really want to show off is mostly that you can do it. And what we'll be showing off, right, is more of a proof of concept than it is necessarily something that you as a PHP professional might bake into your code. So we'll kind of start with just really the basics and saying, here's how you would make one potential way to make an API call to send an email using Nylas, or a way that you can make an API call from PHP to read in emails from an inbox using Nylas.
Yep, exactly. So what we're going to do first is just going to have like a web form where the user can put a subject, can put who's sending the email to, and a body. So it's going to press submit, and the email is going to be sent. So we're going to be doing that first. I'm going to share my screen so we all can see that. So I have here the form running. As you see, it's very plain. It's very simple. So who are we sending this email? Well, for now, it's to myself. I'm sending to my own email. And the subject's going to be hello from PHP. The body, we're going to say, sending this email using the Nylas APIs and PHP. So when I hit submit, we're going to get a small response saying that everything went all right. So I'm going to hit submit. And here you're going to see that we have no mistakes, no errors. The email was sent.
So for folks that might be, kind of following along mostly from the user perspective, suddenly all this stuff just appeared on the screen. But basically what that is we're just, you're taking the raw API response and putting it right into the browser. Again, this is a proof of concept. Obviously, you wouldn't do this in an application, but when we're playing around with things, it's just easy. It's nice to be able to print these sort of success and error messages in a way where we can just see them where we're working.
Yeah, exactly. You would display a message, let's say your email was sent or something like that, right? I just wanted to show you what response are you going to get. So if we go to the mailbox, we're going to let's delete this, and you're going to see, hello from PHP. We're sending this email using the Nylas APIs and PHP. So the email was correctly sent, which is great, and it's 12:05 right now.
Hello from PHP. I don't have many emails like that in my inbox. PHP never emails me anymore.
So now for the second part, we're going to read that email using our, this is not the one actually. Let me see. That's not either. So
Which
let's open it.
terminal is it?
I forgot. I'm using for something else. So
All good. All good.
okay. So we're going here, and we have our script here. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna read that email that we just received. So we can do PHP read inbox at PHP, and when I hit return, you're gonna see that this is the email that we get. We're sending this email using the Nylas API and PHP. So
And
here
so
we're
in
gonna
this case,
pull this.
your script just went into that inbox, found that email, and then
Mhm.
printed it out to your terminal.
Exactly. So that's kind of an easy way to read your email.
Cool. And so, yeah, looking at this, you might say, for example, okay, that's all well and good as a proof of concept. How is any of this actually happening? So maybe we'll, now that we've walked through kind of like just a very high level user flow, right? Again, the user comes in, in the browser, they want to send you something through a form, and they fill out the form and hit submit. And then that is sent as an email to some inbox that you've specified. And then on the receiver's end, if you wanted to, one way you could do this is to read those emails in via the API, and we just, again, printed it out to the terminal just to show off that you have access to that data. So cool. On the developer side of things, like, how do you make all of this magic happen?
So let's jump into the source code. So here I have send email.php, which is the one that is gonna actually send the email. So here we just start like a regular HTML page. Here we have our PHP code, but first go a little bit down. So we have the form here. Here just a simple form where you're gonna have that the method is gonna be post, and we're gonna call PHP self, which is gonna be calling the same page. So we're not calling an extra page, it's just gonna be everything in itself. So here we have the forms, like to put the name, the email, the subject, and the body. So when we hit submit, it's gonna go back to this same page, and it's gonna ask if we're doing a post. So if we're sending information. If we're doing that, what we want to do is we want to create this payload. And here we're gonna have the subject, the body, who's gonna receive the email, its name, his name or her name, and the email. Then we need to specify the header, which is gonna have the authorization. And here I'm using an environment file and that .env file just to have my access token secure. And for that, I'm using .env from PHP, which is a library that you can install using Composer. So once we have that, the important piece here is this one. We're gonna do a CURL init, which is gonna initialize our CURL call, and we're gonna pass the Nylas API send endpoint. From there, we're gonna turn this into a JSON file or a JSON string, wherever. And then we're gonna send it here as a parameter for the CURL call. So this is gonna be the payload or the body of our CURL call. We also gonna pass the header because we need to pass this authorization here. We're saying that we're doing a post and not a get. And then we're also saying that we want the transfer to be returned. So we want to be able to print it on the screen. So once we have all that, we just can do a CURL exec, which is going to execute our CURL call. And that's going to send information to the Nylas API, which is going to send the email. Once we're done, we're going to close the CURL, and we're simply going to print the result, which is what you saw reading below the form.
Yeah, it was all that stuff that popped up right at the bottom of the page that we just talked about. So you can see that we're just, putting that raw response right there into the browser.
Exactly.
So let's pause there, and I'll just kind of recap what we just saw. But again, at a high level, you have on one side an HTML file, which you would expect. It's sort of like this sort of classic kind of PHP HTML file that has a bunch of angle bracket less than greater than signs with the question marks and all of that kind of thing. But what that's doing is, then the PHP script can kind of like fill that out, fill in the blanks, if you will. And so at the end of the day, what you have based on that HTML file with all the PHP kind of inline that we saw, you end up with an HTML file that is a form. Yes. And that's what we saw in the browser.
Yes.
Associated with that is a PHP script that we looked at. It's the second file that we looked at there that actually handles all of the sort of logic, right? So in other words, like when the user hits submit, what happens? Well, we take all of the stuff the data that the user put into the form, turn that into a JSON object, get our API call ready, and in this case, you're using a curl module for that.
Yes.
And so that means when we're getting it ready, we have the JSON body, we add all of the headers that we need to and everything else. Then we hit the Nylas API endpoint using, again, no SDK, right? We can just hit those raw REST endpoints, and then then we get a response, and then we print that to the browser.
Yes, exactly. And actually, as you see, I'm not using Apache like usual. What I'm doing instead, if I'm just going to my PHP folder, and I'm running this command php -s 127.0.0.1.8000, and that is going to serve my script. And
in this case, it didn't, right? Because you're already using that port.
Yes, it's here.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm just going to close it just to demonstrate. You see, it's going to serve my page. So if I go back here, I'm passing that localhost 8000, and then I'm calling the script send email PHP, and it's going to create the form. And when I hit submit, it's going to grab all the information, and it's going to send the email.
And so this is, what you were just showing us in the command line. This is a simple HTTP server that comes with PHP, apparently. And so, like on that command there, you're typing in again like PHP, and then the 127.0.0.1. This is localhost, and then you can designate a port that you want to serve on. And what that's doing is taking everything in the directory and making it available via the server. So that way, like, you can just go into your browser, and I'm not sure if you're using the IP address, or you're using localhost, right? So you can use localhost or that 127.0.0.1, and hit that port, which in this case is :8000, and now everything that's in the directory, the folder that you're serving from, is available. So you're hitting send email.php, which is the PHP script file. You can also hit the companion HTML file that will run no PHP on it, and that will serve. But in this setup, it'll just give you things that you don't really want.
Yes, exactly. So for the second part, and let me just pause this and clear it. So for the read inbox, it's going to be kind of similar. We're not using any HTML here. It's just a plain PHP script. So here again, we're using a .env file to kind of access the access token. So here, the serial init is going to be different. Here, we're using the messages endpoint, and we present as parameters that we want to read just the inbox. Because remember that on a mailbox, everything is just a label. So it can be reading the draft folder or the spam folder or whatever it is. If we say like in inbox, it's just gonna go to the inbox. Also, we want unread to be true, because as you saw, we didn't really open the email. We just let it sit there like this. it's gonna say, "Oh, I only want to read the one that haven't been read, and I want to limit this to one. So I just want the first email that we're getting."
And so for, if you're really thinking about this while watching critically, like, oh, this is very quick and dirty, why would I do it this way? Again, it's the proof of concept to show that you can hit the endpoints using PHP and nothing more. So there are smart ways that you can go in and use some of these parameters to zero in on exactly what you want. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be like the first unread message in the inbox. Nylas is very flexible in that way.
Exactly.
So we've looked at some of those in past live streams with the SDKs, and surely we'll do that again. But just keep in mind that by no means are you limited to setting something like this up. This is really just to show you kind of the baseline of what's possible.
Yeah, and also to show that we have enough flexibility to do a lot of filtering and everything.
Yeah.
So here, of course, we're also passing the header, and we're using the transfer true because we want to actually print it on the screen. So we close the serial call, and then we just print it on the screen. And as you can see, when I did PHP like 12 certain years ago, I thought that it only could run on a web server. But it turns out that you can run PHP just like any regular script language, like Python or Ruby or whatever. So you just need to do PHP, call the name of the script, no web involved, no HTML, nor anything, and it's gonna simply do it.
So it executed the script. It went in and did exactly what we just talked about, right? So it, of course, in this case, we already know we want to read in an inbox, and we're looking for a very specific email. We grab that email, and then you're printing it to the terminal.
Exactly. And that's it. Actually,
cool.
Yeah, very easy. No SDK at all. We're just calling the API straight.
So, and bear in mind again, if you listen to this and the way that we're talking about PHP, it's like, whoa, there's a web server in PHP, and whoa, I can execute files as scripts in PHP. Well, guess what? We don't spend necessarily in our individual lives a lot of time with PHP. So there's a lot of languages out there, and we know that there's a lot of folks who build really awesome stuff on PHP. And typically, you're not going to be executing curl commands directly via a script like this. So the point basically is that you could, in whatever environment you're used to working in within PHP, anything that you could do with, say, the Nylas SDK for Node.js or Ruby or Python, you could also do by hitting our raw endpoints from whatever language you use, including PHP.
Yes. Yeah, and to be fair, when I started with PHP, there was no Laravel or Symfony or Cake PHP or any of the sort. It was just plain PHP. So.
Just plain PHP.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah, it's like showing a COBOL developer what you can do with COBOL today. It's no. Yeah, anyway, yeah.
Well, maybe that's a future live stream. You can talk us through what we can do with COBOL and Nylas for the for the one person out there that might want to see that. Well, thanks for putting together this proof of concept. Again, the takeaway here is PHP devs, you also can do awesome things with Nylas, just like people can in other languages that maybe we'll get to on tomorrow's live stream. Are there any, do you want to call out any languages or a language that you want to highlight in a similar fashion tomorrow, or is it a surprise?
Well, I think I can mention that I'm planning to show how to send an email using Rust, which is a very cool language that is kind of like dethroning C++. And also how to send emails using C#.
Cool. All right. I've dabbled in Rust a bit. C# is going to be a new one for me, so I can't wait to watch along and learn from you. By the way, are any of these, is this sample or anything like that going to appear anywhere on the web?
Yes, of course, I'm going to put that on our GitHub, on our samples repo.
Okay, cool. So our samples repo, let me see if I can whip up a quick banner for this because it looks like we don't have one. So it's as I write it, it is github.com/Nylas-samples. Let me watch this.
Oh, yeah.
That looks like it. Yeah. So github.com/Nylas-samples. There's all kinds of really cool stuff in there. There are things that will show you how to use our various SDKs. There's stuff in there, I believe, about auth, or if it's not, it's coming very soon. And even things that will show you how to build a little bit more of like a fleshed out application using Nylas. So lots of fun stuff. But you're going to be, once you post this will be our first time publishing anything with PHP. So I'm really excited to see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. It might take me a little bit, but everything is going to be there eventually on the Nylas sample GitHub repo.
Cool. All right, Black, thanks so much. Have a great Thursday.
Yeah, thanks, Ash. You too.
See you tomorrow.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.